What's up YouTube, BMR here, and today I have the version 2 review of my MA-030 drift build. So I'm really excited right now because we finally have an official name for this car. And that's super important to have a project name for any car because it makes you kind of feel a little bit more attached to it. So initially I was planning on calling this car Godzilla because it's a dedicated R32 frame. Only bodies I'm going to put on this car are R32s, or I'll run it naked like this. R32s are generally referred to as Godzilla. That was their track name back in the day because they were just such a monster when they were racing back in the day. So anyways, they got the name Godzilla. And I was planning on calling this car Godzilla, but then I noticed when I was drifting it the other day that these are basically BP oil livery on the car, or at least I think it's BP oil. I don't know. I'm not familiar with their logo, but either way, it made me think of BP oil. And since I was already thinking about Godzilla and Kaijus, it made me think of the South Park episode of with BP Oil where they drilled a hole into the moon and opened a portal into another dimension and ushered in Cthulhu. And so anyways, that's going to be the name for this build, is Project Cthulhu, because Cthulhu would devour Godzilla. He would destroy any kaiju, and if he wanted to, he could, end the world basically. So that's what we're going to call this car, is Cthulhu, because this car right now as it sits is an absolute drift monster. I love where it is right now. So I want to talk about in this video the parts I have on the car, and then the second part of the video I want to kind of review the parts and tell you what I think of them. And then the third and final part of this video is going to be talking about the parts in the future that I plan on putting on the car. I'm going to be putting those parts on the car very soon, but I just want to give you guys an idea of where this project's going, because it is getting close to being finished, but it's not quite dialed in. It's getting very, very close, but I still have some more fine tuning to do, and I'm really excited for that part, because that's the part of building a car that I love more than anything, is the tuning, swapping parts out, and just having a blast building the cars. So let's talk about the parts that we swapped out. And as you guys can see, the most noticeable part right here on the top is this new 4100 kV motor, and I've upgraded that from the stock 8500 kV motor, and that's made a world of difference with the car. And then moving on from the motor, down below, we've also upgraded to a front one-way differential up front, and that's made a huge difference in the car's handling, and I'm really happy with that. And then, so those are the two changes we've made since our last drift build update video. But just to recap the parts we have back here in the rear of the car, we have a solid rear axle for our differential. We have aluminum swing arms, as well as aluminum kingpin style knuckles, and a metal tie bar in the back, because having all metal parts back here, your metal knuckles, and these ones from PN Racing have Teflon posts. So basically everything slides a little bit better. It's a little bit smoother, and it all runs really, really well back here. I don't have any binding. I don't have any sticking issues because, like I said, that metal on metal is smooth. And then also having the Teflon on plastic is super smooth too. So everything in the rear end of the car is running really, really good. I also went ahead and stiffened up the rear springs back here in the car, and that's made a really big difference to our handling of the car. But as far as the springs, we've upgraded this rear to stiff ones, and I've left the front ones stock for now, and I'm really happy with the car's performing. So let's give a little bit of a review on all the parts and how this car has basically came together. And guys, like I said earlier in the video, this car is a drift monster, and I don't say that lightly. I'm really happy with how it's performing right now. Specifically, this 4100 kV motor versus the stock 8500 kV motor, there's a lot less heat to deal with this one, because it's better suited for drifting. It's better suited to be in a low RPM range. You have basically more throttle control. You can finesse your throttle a little bit better with this one, but since it's better suited to be in the low RPM range, it's a lot more efficient. You have a lot less heat. The first time I drifted this motor, I was shocked. When I pulled it off the track, I felt the batteries and I felt the motor just to test the hotness of it, see how everything's doing, and make sure nothing's alarming. And I noticed the batteries were about twice as hot as the motor was. So this motor was running really, really cool, because when I was drifting with this, the 8500 kV stock motor, and I'd pull it off the track, this motor would be hotter than the batteries. But now with this new, more efficient motor, my batteries are significantly hotter than my motor. So it's staying very, very cool, and that is awesome. And I've also noticed an increase in efficiency. So I have a longer runtime with my batteries. I haven't spent enough time with this car to really give you a hard number, but I'd say I probably have a good 2, maybe 3 more minutes of runtime just with this better motor, because it doesn't have as much punch. I can, like I said, I can finesse the throttle a little bit more, so I can keep it basically with lower amounts of juice draining from the battery, so they run longer, or they last longer, and the car runs cooler overall because it has just less power going through the system. And it's really, really it's hard to describe it, but like I said, having that more throttle control with this motor, it's made such a difference for my drifting because I have more control. Because one thing people say is you can lock your throttle and then you just drift using your steering to finesse the car and all that and really get good with dialing it in. But I think that your throttle control is more important than the steering input for really fine-tuning your drift and keeping everything tight. Because with this new 4100 kV motor in here and having that finesse in the throttle range, I feel like I just have a lot better control of the car when it's in the corner, when I'm exiting the corner, when I'm entering the corner, just all around. I feel like I can fine-tune the throttle to get the car exactly where I need it to be in the corner to basically have more control and feel like I'm having more control and feel like I'm having a lot more fun with the car. So I'm really happy with this front end. And then moving on to the front one-way in this car, it's performing so phenomenally. I can't even tell you guys how good it's doing. I think it's mostly to do to the fact that I'm using LF1 tires as opposed to in my other car, I was using LF4 tires with the front one way and I wasn't noticing as much of the e-brake effect. But with these front LF1 tires and the front one-way differential, as soon as I get off the throttle, I notice that my back end locks up immediately, but having a one-way bearing, my front wheels can keep spinning. And I've noticed it in the corner. You can see my front wheels, they'll still track and when I'm in a drift and my back wheels are locking up. So as soon as I'm in a corner and I need to drift it a little bit tighter, I can come into the corner and then get off the throttle and it'll kick out that rear end a little bit and the car will want to keep sliding. And so basically it has a full-blown e-brake effect. And I think having these LF1 tires are helping increase that e-brake effect because my front end is able to roll freely and I get a little bit of bite with these LF1 tires. They have just enough grip, but also having LF1s in the back, they're drift tires. They're hard enough that the car, once you lock it up, it's going to want to slide. But having a little bit of grip up front, you can lock, let the back end slide out, but you still have front end control of the car, if that makes sense. I tested out the car because I ran it for 2 days in a row with the previous setup at my parents' house. I was cat sitting for them. And so anyways, I was over there for a few hours a day every day, and I ran my car for 2 days straight with my 8500 kV motor and the stock normal open differentials, and then I did 2 days of drifting the car with this setup, and immediately, guys, I noticed that my drifts were tighter with this new motor and the front one way because I think the front one way was allowing me to use the e-brake effect so I could whip the back end a little bit tighter and whip it to exactly where I want it to be in the corner, as well as having the 4100 kV motor. I have more throttle control, so I can basically put the car exactly where I need to in the turn. If I need to kick it out a little bit more, I can do that. If I need to hit the throttle to get the car sliding further into the corner, I can do that. But I can also just barely tap it just enough so the car just slides a little bit harder in the corner, if that makes sense. So basically, this is a huge upgrade, at least in my opinion right now, guys. I don't want to be overselling this motor, but at the same time, I don't want to undercut it or something like that and make you guys think that it's not as good as it is, because this motor and this setup is amazing. But I think also part of that is I'm getting better as a drifter myself, so I'm able to appreciate these changes on the car. And I'm really happy with how I've been just slowly testing the car out, slowly swapping parts in and out, and really seeing and noticing the difference from change to change and everything I'm doing with the car. So I'm really happy with it. I love where the car is at. Like I said, I'm getting it dialed in and I'm really happy with that. So let's talk about some of the future upgrades, because I do plan on tweaking this car a little bit more to make it even more of a better drifter car. So let's start with the biggest parts that I'm going to be putting into it, and that's going to be a brand new rear end for this car. So this is the PN Racing aluminum rear end for the MA-010, or basically it's universally compatible with any all-wheel drive Mini Z. But I'm going to be putting the upper end because this upper comes with a sway bar. So that's going to be the biggest difference to this rear end, is we're going to have a sway bar back here, and then I'm going to be putting more silver into the car just to give it more color, make it look prettier. I think having a bunch of silver back here is going to look really good with the mint green and this green motor. I want to eventually switch out these swing arms and make them all silver, so it'll be a silver and green build and it'll look really cool. But anyways, so I'm going to be putting a sway bar in the rear end, and then this is a carbon fiber plate for the bottom, so it'll look really cool. But this one, PN Racing, they only sell 90 to 94 millimeter low mounts for these, but you have to get the 98 millimeter mount separately. It's only like 10 bucks, I think, for this thing. But anyways, if you want to use it for a 98 millimeter wheelbase, just know that you need to get a separate longer extension basically. And so I'm going to be putting those parts in the car, and that's going to help stiffen my rear end even more. And I'm really excited to see what that does to the car. And then, so once I put my sway bar in, I also have these springs. These are rear springs, so I can change. I want to definitely put the sway bar in because what the sway bar does is it'll help your car from pitching in the corner. It'll help everything stay planted a little bit better in the corner. It'll help it stay flat in the corner versus wanting to roll. It'll help a little bit with body roll. So I'm going to be putting that sway bar in, but that's going to stiffen my rear end. So I might want to fine tune my springs in the back end a little bit, maybe go one setting softer with the sway bar, because the sway bar will stiffen it, and then I might want to soften my springs so that way it stays at basically this stiffness that I have it at right now at this spring rate. It's really, really good. I'm really, really happy with it. And I also have some front springs. So these are Eagle Racing front springs, but I also have Kyosho brand. I've just misplaced them. I don't know where they're at right now, but I'm going to be putting Kyosho ones in here, but I wanted to just go ahead and show you guys on camera. Basically, I'm going to be tuning my front and back springs, as well as putting in a sway bar. And then one of the final things that we're going to be doing is putting in some DS Racing LF4 drift tires, so we can directly compare LF1 drift tires to LF4 drift tires and just see where they're at, because I love LF4 drift tires on my MA-030. It works great. But with this MA-030, I just decided to go with the LF1s, and I'm really happy I did because this car has a lot of grip. It's a very, how do I say this? This is a very agile chassis, and having these LF1 tires on it just helps increase that agility a little bit more. So basically, I feel like I have a lot of control with this MA-030. I feel like I can put it exactly where I want to put it in the corners. And so I think those LF1 tires help with that. So I'm not quite sure how much I'll like these LF4 tires on this chassis, because I think, like I said, with that increased agility, this car just performs so well. I don't know if I'll like these LF4 tires, but I just want to try it just to give them a fair shot. And then I can maybe do 3 or 4 drift sessions with these, and then put the LF1 tires on it, do a couple drift sessions with those again, and get a baseline for both of the tires. And then I want to give you guys a review of what I think of LF1s versus LF4s, because I've never directly compared them side by side on the same car. And I'm really happy, like I said, with this car. I have it dialed in now. I want to just compare these tires and give them a fair review and let you guys know what I think of them, and just basically put another video out for the community on these tires, because I think DS Racing drift tires are the very best. I think they're much better than Kyosho drift tires. In the future, I definitely want to get some Kyosho, another set of Kyosho drift tires, another set of these Route 246 rims, and then compare LF1s or LF4s, whatever I decide is the better tire. I'll take those tires and then compare them to the Kyosho drift tires. So then I can give you guys basically a review of drift tires for these cars. And I know there's a few other companies out there that make drift tires. I do want to get my hands on them. I want to get every single drift tire I can for the MA-030, or for the Mini Z, basically for any micro all-wheel drive cars. I want to have all the drift tires, all the different companies, so I can compare them all and give you guys a review of them. That's something I'm planning on doing in the future, but those are some of my future plans for this car. And then also so basically all this stuff is going to be build version 3. And then I have in the horizon, for the long game for this car, I want to put LiPo batteries in it. And the really exciting thing with LiPo batteries is they're really lightweight. So I can basically have even lighter, more agile car. But the best part is with LiPo batteries, you only run 2 live cells. So basically you have 2 live cells, and then you can have 2 dummy cells. So I can make these dummy cells that just sit under the chassis. So I never have to take this plate off. I never have to remove these batteries again if I have dummy batteries in there. And then all I have to do is remove the 2 side ones when I need to charge it up and put more power into the car. So, but basically that's going to be a long-term plan for my car, is putting LiPo batteries in there. And I'm super excited. As you can tell, I'm still talking about it because I'm so fired up about it. I'm really, really excited. So that'll be probably the final upgrade we do on this car, is putting in LiPo batteries. And then also, of course, fine tuning our springs. That's going to be huge. Once we get all that stuff dialed in, I'm going to be done basically building this car, and then we'll give you guys basically a review of the MA-030 once I have it fully dialed into a drift build. And I'm planning on getting another MA-030 in the future. I think Kyosho said that they should have another production batch ready in May of 2020, somewhere around there. So I should be able to pick up another chassis, and by then I think I'll have this car completely dialed in, and I'll be able to compare a completely stock MA-030 Evo with my upgraded Drift King. that's going to be it for this drift build. Oh, the last thing that I'm going to be getting for this car too in the future is a case, because I carry it around in this PN Racing case and it works okay, but I want to have a decently large case that I can have my controller, maybe my MA-030, MA-020, potentially a second MA-030, and then batteries and a charger, and have all that in one nice waterproof, maybe a Pelican case or something like that. So that'll be another thing I get down the road in the future when I just have some extra money and, you know, I just want to basically get a final upgrade. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I'm really excited for the future of this car. I'm really excited for where it's at right now, but I'm really more excited for the potential of this car once I get LiPo batteries in on it. So anyways, guys, let me know down in the comments below what you guys think of this build and basically what you think of the name for it, because I really want to know what you guys think of this name, Cthulhu, for the build. And anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you guys found this informative. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and see you next time.